everybody. Welcome back, youtube.com/Geek Aloud. It's Monday night. It's 8 p.m.-ish. So I'm on duty, Troy. On the virtual couch is Steve via Discord. Steve, sir, welcome.
Mate, on duty, mate. What a week it's been. It just may as well just nickname it Elden Ring week.
Yes, we should. Before we dive into Elden Ring, God, you got me going early this week, Steve. I will quickly run down how the show goes. It's game interrogation and deliberation first. Steve and I will just be kicking down the doors of the games that we've been playing recently, tell you all about it, what we find on the other side. Then, of course, we jump into the news segment, cover off the headlines. Then we have the standoff. Steve, tell me things. Who's fighting this week?
Who's fighting this week? Troy, it is our best non-FromSoft Soulsborne-like games this week.
Excellent, everyone. Stick around for that one. And then finally, of course, the fourth segment is audience interrogation. Any questions or comments throughout the show, bang them in the YouTube chat. We round them all up at the end. It would be great to hear from you. But first, we do one of these. Boom! It is Elden Ring, of course. Steve, I have been playing not much other than Elden Ring. How about you, mate? What does your week look like with it?
It looks very similar to yours, I imagine, and it's so much so that we very much struggled to find other games to talk about this week, and we're really pushing it. But I mean, this game is something else. Like I have just been putting all my time into this. I've tried to jump into other things, but this game just keeps pulling me back in. It's all about the grind. It's all about pushing forward that story now and like hunting down those NPCs and trying to complete their quests. And it's when I say hunting down NPCs and quests, it's not handholdy quests. Like you really have to listen to what these guys are saying and follow what they want you to do, and then sort of go about your business and do it. And it is so rewarding once you figure out what it is they want. And I'm just going to stop right now because I see you on this lift and it looks like you've found one of the bits I was going to talk about. And when you realize this game is almost twice the size as you thought it was.
Isn't it amazing, Steve? I had to put this elevator ride in. I couldn't believe it. My jaw was on the floor when this moment happened to me in gaming. I had no idea that this is a thing. I didn't know it existed. I stepped on the little plateaus, what do you call it, the button there. Did not know the ride I was in for. Man, the game went from about a 12 to a 13 for me at that point, Steve.
Oh, mate, I can't believe it. And I've been down there a bit now, and from what I can tell, this underground area is as big as the upper ground area. So this game just almost doubled in size. And when I say that, I'm not even saying it lightly. I thought I had the map almost uncovered up above ground. And I'm now in an area which wasn't even uncovered before. And even on YouTube videos and stuff, I've seen people zoom back on the map and this bit wasn't even there yet. And it's even bigger now. And I'm like, oh my, how much more of this game is in this thing?
Yes. How many more environments are there? How many more enemy types are there? How many more weapon types are there? It just goes, oh no, it's fantastic. These are not complaints. These are not complaints.
Oh, my God. And like, this is like, I've looked up some videos about what to do and where to go. If you are just doing this game blind, this game is going to take you all year to finish.
Oh, absolutely. Are you, do you know, Steve, at this point, are you prepared to say whether you're going for the platinum, long-term visions?
Oh, God. Probably not. Like, I don't know what entails in it, but just looking at the trophy list, I don't know what you'd have to do to get the platinum in this thing and how much time you would have to be willing to put in. But
it'll be a lot.
I don't know if I've got that in me somehow. I'm probably more likely to go back and platinum seafood before I do this.
Well, my big question, Steve, is do you think you're going to be able to put it down at the end? Or do you think you'll have rolled credits, but something about the game will just keep pulling you back, even though you're technically finished with it?
Oh, mate, from what I know, I'm pretty sure you can finish this game without doing anywhere near close to everything in the game. And from what I've seen, it seems to be the case. I feel like what we're doing is chasing down those great runes of the great Elden, like whatever you want to call them.
Yes.
I feel like once you've got enough of them, you're going to fight the last boss. But this world is like teeming with mini bosses, which now I've taken out quite a few. And just even those mini bosses, just they're so creative in what they do. I mean, we on stream during the week fought a giant weird cat thing that floats in the air and slams on the ground. And you know, I've fought dragons and I've beaten my first dragon now as well. And fighting the dragons is just so exhilarating. And I just before we went on air tonight, I had another dragon that came and I sort of got him down to quarter health. And then he just flew away. So I'm like, I'm going to guess he's going to come back later on in that biome and sort of trying to take me down then. So that was just something I wasn't prepared for, like maybe a possible multi-phase boss where you fight him in different locations. Like this game just keeps doing things. Like I don't know how the guys at FromSoft do this.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
the amount of builds you've got, the amount of like the weapons there are, and different ways you can go with magic and classes and weapons, and like I've completely almost changed the way I play. But now which is good because I went from more of a melee to a magic, and now I'm literally both. I've just got one of the most OP weapons ever, which is this awesome sword that does great melee damage, but then it also does fire damage and another incantation damage as well, which absolutely wrecks bosses.
Do you recall the name of that sword, Steve? I'm wondering if it's the one I picked up, but I'm not skilled enough yet. I need more dexterity or something before
It's called the Sword of Night and Flame. It very much looks. It very much looks like the what's Link's sword, the Master Sword. It's very sort of reminiscent of that, but it does ridiculous damage, and I've sort of managed to upgrade it to +5 now, and just upped all my intelligence, and that's where I'm at. Troy, where are you level wise and hours wise in Elden Ring at the moment?
Hours wise, I'm just over 40 hours. I think it was 40 hours 30 odd minutes, and I think level 73, 74, somewhere right around there.
Very respectable.
Absolutely loving it, grinding it out, Steve. I followed your advice. You told me not to do it, so I went against your advice and did it anyway, mate. But I went for the, I'm blanking on their names now, but in the abandoned cave there in the red biome, the 2 knights in the dungeon, it's in the abandoned cave right at the end there behind the boss door.
Oh, the golden scarab?
Yes, the golden scarab, the, what is it, extra 20% or something, souls buff or something. So I picked that up, and then I was doing your grinding thing there to get me those levels, mate. But before we were on air, can you share with everyone your new grinding spot, some details?
Yeah, it's a hard one to explain because you know the bloke that you first see. Sorry, it's very Australian. The guy that you see when you first come out of the sort of tutorial area, and he sort of speaks to you right when you first hit the sort of main plateau area.
Yeah. Yep.
So you then run into him again at another church. You speak to him, and he gives you these. I think it's their furlong fingers or something like that.
Yes.
That lets you invade other people's games.
Yes.
So what you need to do for his quest line is then you need to invade 3 other players' games. So that sort of shows that you're against the light and all that kind of stuff. So you invade 3 games, which was actually quite fun. My first game, I invaded 2 people and got absolutely wrecked and lost 10,000 runes, but that's all right. And then my second 2 games, I invaded these guys that were clearly sort of maybe sort of a bit more junior in the game, but they just kept running away from me, and I absolutely destroyed them. And I did have to laugh to myself. It felt pretty fun, and I felt really bad when I killed them. But it was fun. I only did it just for the quest line, so I haven't done it since. But so once you do that,
do you know if there's a trophy at all associated with the multiplayer? I haven't looked.
I don't know. There probably is. I would say probably to get a certain amount of wins invading stuff like that. But
good point. Sorry, mate. Please continue.
No, that's all right. So once you do that, he then gives you a rag, like a white rag that says you need to have it.
I think someone's given me a white rag, and I didn't know what it was about. This might be it.
I wonder if it's similar. So if you get the white rag, you then have to stain it in blood with a maiden, and because you don't have your own maiden, you've got to hunt down this other female maiden, and she's in this church. But to get to this church, you've got to weave your way in and out this mountain, and then you've got these guys casting this incantation on top of a mountain. It looks very Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
All this flame in there. As soon as the flame goes in the air, you start taking massive damage. I can't remember what it's called. It's the yellow one, whatever that is. So you have to make sure. It's not lightning. It's something completely different. I can't remember what it's called, but it kills you very quickly. So you've got to hide behind rocks to get up to and sneak up to them. You climb up the tower. You finally take these guys out, which stops the area sort of, taking all this, area of effect damage on yourself. And you walk up to the church. An NPC, like one of those red NPCs appears. You've got to kill him. And then you can finally get to the church and soak your little rag in blood. Once you've done that, you then go back to old mate from the start of the game who's still at the same church. And then you give him the blood-soaked rag, and then he will give you this item once you speak to him twice, which will then transport you to a whole new area within the underground area. And then once you get there, you've got to sort of do a few things and race up through this blood lake, and then you end up at this site of grace. And at that site of grace, you've got about 20 enemies that are literally just like that are just sleeping, and I can now, with my upgrade, I can now 2-shot them with an R2 heavy attack and then an R1, and then you take about 20 enemies and they all give you about 2,500 with the golden scarab per kill.
Nice.
So, and you can do that sort of like every 2-3 minutes. You can just rinse and repeat, and you pretty much, even if you do accidentally die or whatever, because there's a couple of enemies that aren't just sleeping, that are a little bit more heavy hitting than those ones. They'll occasionally get you, but it's no issue just to walk back and get all your runes. So Mate, I've done multiple farms of 300,000 plus
Nice.
today quite easily.
So what you're saying, Steve, is everyone should keep their eye on the channel. We're going to have to produce another farming video for Elden Ring.
Yeah, we may have to. This one's a little bit more time precious than the other one, but I'm sure you can work some magic.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. It's been absolutely phenomenal. Little tip out there, Steve. I doubt you're going to have to worry about this at all. But for anybody out there who would turn subtitles off like me, note that you then can't skip through the conversation. The only way you can button through the conversation, like cut them off, is with subtitles on. You turn off, you lose the ability to skip through. So don't go doing that and then wondering why the game's broken like I did.
Subtitles always in games. It's a rule of mine.
Not for me. And the other one I did foolishly was upgraded my weapon. I can't remember the name of the sword that I had, but I upgraded, not realizing that you can upgrade it and then it changes the stats requirement and I could no longer use my favorite sword. I had to go and grind a level to put the thing back up. Just something to be aware of.
That's right, mate. You get this sort of fire and whatever I called it before, and you won't need any other weapon in the game because this thing is literally the hybrid of magic and melee, and it is a thing of beauty. And as I said to a message earlier this week about that second major boss that you need to beat,
yes.
Are you up to that yet?
I don't know. You need to tell me, where is the second boss? I've just been opening random bits and I really don't even know where the game wants me to be. I'm having a lot of fun and I feel like I'm doing 8 quests simultaneously, you know.
Yeah, it's sort of up to the left. So as long as you follow those sites of grace that are giving you those sort of little zigzaggy, like lightning sort of looks, you follow those directions. It'll take you up into like a sort of palacey area. Then you've got to find a key, which is behind a dragon to get in there, mate. I can go through it all. It's a lot of detail. Once you get in there, it's like your old legacy boss from like, your Dark Souls Bloodborne. You're just sort of working your way through this castle and you have to fight this female, which I thought it was funny. The first time I thought I'd beaten her was actually only her first phase, and I was fist pumping myself, and then I had no health left, no magic left, and I went through the second phase. I'm like, oh no. So that took a few goes, and then once you beat her, you can actually respec your character, which is quite cool. You can you have to get an item, but then you can sort of, if you've decided you've gone too heavy in dexterity or strength and you want more in intelligence, you can do that. You can actually change the look of your character from the start of the game as well, if you like. Not that you actually see your character because you're always wearing a mask.
Yeah, that's true. But you can do that with the mirror next to the chick that gives you weird cuddles as well.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, there's just a mirror like on the foot of that room, and if you just walk up to that mirror and interact with it, you can then just fully customize your character from the start.
Nice. And I'll have to give you a tip. There's one boss that I found in the sort of the larvaly sort of area.
Yeah.
That it was destroying me because he spawns these like guys that shoot arrows and stuff at you. I'm like, that's going to get him away from you. I managed to get him out. Have you seen the rot explosions that come out of the lava?
Yes.
I managed to lure him and just circle around him while he stayed in the rot lava like explosions, and it took him out really quickly.
Perfect. Using the environmental to your advantage. I love it.
Oh, right. Just the fact that it's got very Breath of the Wild stuff about like using the environment, using the elements and stuff.
Yeah.
The fact that it actually works, like you think, oh, can I try that? And it works, and it does. It's just phenomenal gameplay, and I just love not having my hand held in the game. As frustrating as it can be for some people, I'm just absolutely in love with the way this game works.
I love it, mate. My big tip as well would be, I don't know about you, mate. Are you? I've got the wiki running next to me the whole time. Laptop open, wiki's open, and I'm just searching for stuff constantly.
Oh, I love it because like a lot of those items, like you get no explanation when you pick up what it's actually for.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Not until you get your cookbooks and you want to make something, you're like, that's what it's for. I need it to make whatever.
Have you done the dragon heart ritual yet?
Yeah, so the Island of the Dragons.
I don't know about the Island of the Dragons, but you end up in like an old dragon church, something, and you put a dragon heart in, then you get some new spells. Have you done that?
Yeah. So you went through a cave, sort of near towards the starting area of the game. Is that where you went?
In the red section, yeah. Like the second.
Oh no!
The second biome, bottom right, I think.
Oh, I went somewhere different. I went sort of left to like. I think it was west I went, and there was like a cave near the start of the game, and it gets you out to this like island, which is full of dragons, which does the same thing. Oh,
maybe I'm confused. I might be confused. I've played so much of it, a lot of it is blurring into each other. It's such a good game. Oh, sorry, I've just seen the footage back, an early on bit. Did you come across the pot yet, who's stuck in the ground like a giant pot who talks to you?
I did. And I feel like I've just literally come across as well, like later in the game, there's this massive mansion castle thing with this giant, like this thing is 5 times, 10 times the size of that pot. He's not alive, but it's a giant pot.
wow.
I don't know whether that's got something to do with his quest line. I've got no idea. I haven't looked it up yet. I rescued this guy. I can't even remember where I rescued him. All I know is that since then I've been defeated by many of his friends.
And sorry, Steve, we got off track earlier. Who's the second boss of the game? Who should I be going to after... I can't even remember what it's called. When you restore the rune power or whatever it was called.
Yeah, once you do that, I'm trying to think of what the name of the map is called. If you like, just talk for a little bit, I'll look up the map and I'll tell you what area it needs to be.
Well, I'll tell everyone. I've had an absolute blast running around playing this thing, not looking at any of the quest stuff at all, and just exploring. This game takes the cake for, as Steve was saying, like nothing has to hold your hand at all, but just getting on your horseback and just riding, just pick a direction, start riding, just to explore the world. This game, by far, the best at just rewarding you through in-game interactions. The one, I guess, previous to this that did it, I guess, would have been, what was his name? Deacon St. John. Days Gone? I want to say Days Gone.
Yes. Yep.
I reckon they previously had the best just call to adventure, go and see what sort of trouble you can get into. But Elden Ring definitely takes the cake for me. As Steve was saying, the fact that the whole map's essentially doubled up with the whole underground realm as well, that's mind-blowing. Oh, Steve, how do you get down to the end of that bridge? That's what I had to ask.
Which bridge?
So in the west sort of... I'd call it Biome 3, I guess. That sort of the one on the left or the west, if you like, with the big lake area. But there's
that's where you need to be. That's it. That is the second boss area. That's where you kind of need to be.
Okay, and which is the boss in the open area, or is he up that giant bridge that I can't work out how to get into?
So he's in, so she's inside the sort of castle sort of area there. But what you need to do is off to the left, there's a couple of little islandy sort of things you'll see on your map. You need to go to the sort of the northern sort of one on the left-hand side, and there you'll see a dragon near some rocks. To get behind the dragon, grab that key. That's the key you need to be able to get into this like big giant blue door that's locked at the moment, and that'll take you through the area where the boss is.
Oh, okay. Well, that brings us to the next question, Steve. Will you be here for either Wednesday or Friday's live Let's Play at 10 a.m.?
Oh, I might be pushing it. I think I'm working, but we'll see how we go. Because I'll hold your hand through those if you like.
Yeah, perfect. That's what we need. Good bit of hand holding. And I don't know if you've. I know your stream's slightly delayed here, Steve, but I don't know if you've fought these two hound-looking things, but they scared the bejesus out of me. I know you were in there with me and saw the birds with like those 2-meter blades absolutely eat me alive. Check out these guys. These are dogs with about 10-meter blades on their feet. They're terrifying.
I think I've defeated a few of them now.
Those things were scary. Other than that, just as you were saying, Steve, props to them for the non-hand holding. Great. It does make sense, but I am using a wiki a fair bit. But I love the journal system or the questing system without the HUD markers, without all the Ubisoft add-ons. Oh. That's been so refreshing not to have that. The other one, Steve, I've got for you is the the golden needle, so you can update.
Oh, you've got the golden needle.
Yeah, I got the golden needle, but I can't work out. Like you rest at the fire, but does it only do one thing? I can't really. It doesn't make sense. I thought I was going to be able to modify any of my armor sets with it. But
actually, did you get that after defeating a boss by any chance? The
golden needle? Yeah, I did.
Okay, so that golden needle, from what I can tell from the area you're in, you need to take that back to the guy that's in the shack just before you come into this area, because he's got a quest line where you've got to give it to a girl that's up on the hill on top of this area, and he uses that golden needle, and then she uses that golden needle to get rid of the rot within inside her, and that's whole questing, and you get something out of that.
Okay. Well, then I will have to go and investigate that. Oh, the other big one I had to note was twice this week it happened to me, Steve, where I was going through the underground palace type area, and I felt like I was in Lord of the Rings, and I went, here's his fingerprints.
Oh, mate.
The old George Martin. He really, it's later in the game, there's been multiple times where I'm like, this feels exactly correct. He must have, been very heavily involved in this section or whatever.
Oh, he must have. And I might just say I'm really enjoying your purple things that you're shooting at people.
Yeah, do you love that? This is all off your recommendation, mate. This is how I've been started to kill boss. This is that staff you told me to get, and then I went and got the spells with the purple thing. Then I did the upgrade a couple of times, and you're right, you just with that and the wolves upgraded. It's all sorts of fun. It's all sorts of fun.
That's it. All sorts of fun, mate. I love it. Let's. You reckon we've got enough talk? Or do you reckon we can keep going?
I could keep talking about Elden Ring forever, but I won't. I will move on. Steve, it's over to you for Shadow Warrior 3, my friend. Shadow Warrior 3.
Shadow Warrior 3, mate. This game, I've been waiting for it for a little while. I think it was supposed to come out a while ago, and then for some reason it got delayed into this year, and for whatever reason. But I was a massive fan of the second game. It was very sort of Destiny-like in terms of its loot and level design. You sort of come into an open world and you do missions and side missions and stuff like that. This game, which I didn't realize when I first started it, has taken a complete left turn in how it actually plays and what it is, which for me, mainly not for the better.
Sorry, mate. You may have said it and I missed it. Is it an FPS or what are we talking here?
Yeah,
third person?
Yeah, first person shooter.
Okay.
Just essentially picture Doom with comedy.
Yeah, well, it's kind of really bizarre because the dude looks like he's kind of a modern dude, but he looks like he's fighting stuff from hundreds of years ago. It's odd.
Yeah. So the yokai that you're fighting, so it's similar to like your Neo and stuff like that, where you're in that sort of yokai monsters and Japanese. Is it Japanese? I think it is.
I believe so, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, we'll say that for now. But anyway, so I started playing this game, and it's complete departure from the loot system of old. This one's got you've got your main weapons that you upgrade as you play, so you're not sort of looting and grinding that way. You've got a grapple, as you can see on screen at the moment.
Yeah.
Which after seeing the grapple, I was like, oh, maybe it's gonna be cool to have some like Halo mechanics. But this grapple is really sort of by the numbers. Like you need to have certain rings that you press Y on, and you can use it only at those times. You can't use it whenever you like to move around the battlefield.
That's disappointing.
There's no aim down sight anymore, which I find quite weird. Like you pull the left trigger, and left trigger is more of a dash left, dash right, dash forward, dash back move.
Okay.
Which when you sort of start to leap into the mechanics, it's actually quite fun and fast and rewarding. But for me, it's so hard to go from playing not even just most first-person shooters, but to playing the number two, where you do just pull trigger and aim down sight and shoot that way, to go to this sort of thing where it's very Doom. Like you're using your sword on RB, your gun on R2, and if you get kills with your sword, then it gives you ammo. If you get kills with your gun, then you get health, and you've got these finishing moves which are cool and fun. Like you press LB, RB to sort of, there's one where he pulls the guy's head off and sticks his thumbs through the guy's eyes, or you grabs like this guy. He grabs the hammer out of it. You can use the hammer as a weapon and stuff as well. But they do become quite samey after a while because there's no different animation per enemy. Once you've got that one enemy's sort of execution done, then you're seeing that same animation over and over again. Yeah, I mean it's fun, and from what I've seen, a lot of people are saying it's a short game. It is fun, and like I have had fun with it. But it's so hard to play other games at the moment when we've just been talking so much about Elden Ring. But this is obviously a big departure from that. So going back to playing something like Horizon, which is a big open world, is hard, and you do feel like I would prefer to be upgrading my character in Elden Ring than playing Horizon right now. Whereas this is sort of completely different. Like you're playing this game, it's very linear. Like you got these linear sections where you're just literally going through. There's pretty much no exploration. You're coming into these big sort of battle arenas. It's sort of like monster closets. So you sort of walk through these kind of little linear things. You hit this area, and you've got barrels here, barrels there, a hook shot thing that you can use over there, and then you sort of just survive as long as you possibly can in that area until you kill all the enemies and move through the next linear path. So from my experience, that's all I've had so far. I haven't put in massive amounts of time in it yet. It's fun. It's quirky. The story is quite cool. You're trying to take on this dragon. You're working with, I think it's the bad guy from the second game. You're actually working with it.
That was one of my questions, mate. Is it the continuation of a story, and does it matter if you haven't played 2? Can you go straight into this?
No, they do. They do a pretty good job at onboarding you for what the story is and where it's at with the start cutscene and stuff like that. And I do give them credit when they do roll from like cutscene into gameplay. It actually is quite cool. Like there could be a cutscene like this which you're watching right now, and literally it'll go from something like him pulling this giant thing off to automatically you're in gameplay, you're in the arena and you're fighting. So it is quite cool that way. And as I said, make really really fun game. It's hard to play anything else that's not Elden Ring right now. This is a good little palate cleanse right now as well. But I think the humor hits more than it doesn't. It is a little bit childish. Like he does some funny things though. These monsters are coming down on like hot air balloon stuff, and you shoot them down. He starts singing, "It's raining monsters, hallelujah." Stuff like that. It's quite contextual and it's quite fun. And apparently it happens more often than that one moment that I've just seen. So I look forward to sort of finish it. I will finish it. It's just that, yeah, it's not what I was looking for in a sequel. And I think they might have gone backwards in where the series was going. I think if they doubled down on those sort of Destiny sort of loot mechanics, they could have had a really, really good game on their hands. Whereas at the moment, they've probably got a, one and done kind of experience, which, it's fun these day and age. There's not a lot of that, and it's good just sort of being able to play a game and finish it and put it down and not have to worry about it. So, I mean, I can't sort of knock it too much for that because it looks like it's nailing exactly what it is going for.
Yeah, mate, perfect. And it's Xbox exclusive, is it?
No, I believe it's across all consoles.
Oh, okay. My apologies. I misunderstood the branding or marketing, I should say. The end frame just suggested it was exclusive, which was going to be my next question was, is this a good one to keep my eye out for on Game Pass, mate, maybe?
I think so, because I believe number 2 and 1 or one of those are on Game Pass at the moment.
Yeah, right.
Or at least have been part of Xbox Live Gold and stuff in the past. So there was a pre-order deal. If you pre-ordered, you got both those games for free.
Yes, I remember you saying that last week. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's no real point, though, if you own both of them already through Game Pass. But, solid, lots of games. If during a quiet period, which at the moment is not really a quiet period, but I think by the time we get to new releases, we're about to realise that at least this week is quite quiet when it comes to games. Which is good.
This week's going to be very noisy. It's just going to be Elden Ring.
Yeah, that's right. It gives us plenty of time to hit that backlog. When I say backlog, it's not really a backlog. It's just Elden Ring.
And it's fine. It can take up all the slots in my backlog. I don't mind at all. The one other one that I've checked out this week, we mentioned last week in the coming up, was Puzzle Quest 3 out on smartphones now, iPhone, Android, and I think it's also on Steam. I was mentioning that last week. I got into this big time. I think it's been over 10 years since the game first came out on iPhones, and it was one of the first match 3s, but it was the first match 3 to do RPG mechanics. So, you defeat people, you get armor, you can equip armor, upgrade the armor, weapons, etc. All the fun RPG elements are in there, and they've added, I should say, to this one. Now there's a diagonal swipe you can do, which you couldn't do before, which seemed very criminal when I first did it. It felt like a very cheat move, but the more I get into this game, the more I'm enjoying it, and it's not a cheat move, it's actually really good. This game, it suits me well, Steve. Like, sort of, if you look at the top right there, you can see how it's like 3 enemies you've got to fight in the one fight. Back in Puzzle Quest 1, it would have been one person in this long, boring fight. But for people like me who like things to change a bit more frequently, they just say that it's 3 fights now. They just change out the character model, even though it's essentially the same one big, long fight. But they're hiding it beautifully from me. I love it. It's
I like it.
And, you can pick your spells and double up and stuff. It's an as in-depth as you'd want for a smartphone game, mate. It's perfect for the pick up and play. When I can't be at my console on Elden Ring this week, I've been enjoying my time Puzzle Quest 3. It's a free game. There's a lot of, in-app purchases and prompts for in-app purchases. But if you look beyond that, there is a good game there. If you're looking for a match 3 game on iPhone or Android, I highly recommend this one. It's very fun.
Very fun. That's true. Like, there are a lot of microtransactions in this game, and I'd almost prefer they went to just a paid model and not have that stuff.
Yes.
But I understand there's plenty of money to make, and people will spend money on it. But as far as I'm concerned, you can still have plenty of fun without touching any of that stuff as well.
Yeah, I haven't.
The match 3 stuff has always been quite fun. And at least it gives you more context for what you're actually doing, as apart from just matching 3. Like, it is quite fun to see these characters battling it out behind your gems.
Yes, and as I understand it, Steve, you were never a big World of Warcraft guy, but I got to tell you, they are lifting models, I suspect, directly from World of Warcraft. All those trees and rocks and everything. I think I can see some very similar looking assets.
Yeah, never played World of Warcraft, but definitely sold a lot of it, and it definitely harkens back to those World of Warcraft days, I think, just giving those aesthetics of those characters.
Yeah, it feels like it's pulled through. Anyway, I'm a big fan of it. I'll be continuing to play it and put it on your radar out there if that's your thing. And that's it for the games this week, because, we've mainly just been playing Elden Ring. All right. The next one is what, Steve? The news. Is it the news? I think it's the news. You have the right to remain newsworthy. There we go. Almost. One of these weeks I'll get it. All right. First up this week from IGN. Housemarque's next game won't be a Returnal sequel, apparently. Steve, what do you think?
Oh, Troy, hashtag sad.
Very sad. Very sad.
I kind of wish they were doing one. At the same token, I don't know if I'm ready to put in that many hours and stress into another Returnal game just yet, especially with Elden Ring and Seafood in the bag at the moment.
Yes.
But yeah, like hopefully, yeah, it does say there may be some DLC, and we did get that.
Well, we know there's DLC coming, mate, because we saw those tweets.
I was going to say there was those tweets. There was that the actress was in the studio filming something for something, which they haven't really come out and said what that was for yet as well.
Yeah, do we have a state of play or something coming up soon? It feels like the shoe's about to drop on this one to me.
It does, and like I don't know where Housemarque's going to go with their next game, and I just fear by not going with a Returnal sequel that I mean, I trust what they do, but it's just done so well that I'm like, I don't know where they go from that. Do they stick with the same formula type of game, and everyone's going to be like, oh, it's the same game, but I would have preferred Returnal? Do they go in a different direction? Because they usually go their top-down sort of shooters and stuff like that. I'm hoping they stick with the third-person action shooter, but I don't know. They might go. Maybe they go slightly more user-friendly this time around. I don't know.
Oh, I wish not. If I could just wish them to do anything, I would wish them to do Returnal 2, obviously. But my big concern here, I've highlighted on the screen there, the quote. There can be sort of, he's just throwing ideas out there of different game types, live service games, multiplayer games. Oh, I don't like any of that. Stick to Returnal. Not live service.
You could argue that Returnal had live service stuff in it because it did have your dailies and weeklies and stuff like that.
That's a good point you raised, Steve. That's a great point you raised, mate.
Like, I'm happy if that's the caliber of multiplayer and live service stuff that we get, because I'd be happy just with leaderboards and stuff. But I think
very true.
They need to stay true with what they're good at, and what they're good at is gameplay, and now melding that gameplay with a decent story. And I'm happy with the difficulty. They can make it as hard as Returnal 1 was. I'm happy with that. But yeah, I don't want them to lean too heavily in that multiplayer stuff. That scares me a little bit. But stick to what they know, and I think we'll have another very good game on our hands. I just don't think we're going to see it for at least another 3 years or so.
Yes, and the only other thing I'll point out is this will be their first game working as a first-party studio. So I wonder how much say they have in their own destiny now, whether Sony more dictates to them what they'll be doing.
And that's sort of, Sony is known for their big third-person action adventure games that aren't, known for being hard games. Like, you got your Uncharted, your Spider-Man, your God of Wars and stuff. Like, they've got difficulty settings. You can make those games easy. Do that. Diminish Housemarque's reputation by saying, we want difficulty levels in your game, and they don't want that. But, the money that Sony's probably throwing, they probably do have a chance to dictate how much they, get a say in what that game is and how it plays. So I just don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, time will tell, man. But I'm hopeful we get the DLC, and surely they wouldn't be making any firm plans until they got the DLC out there and saw how well it sold. I would hope they would look for sales figures of that DLC to see how hot is the audience for a real sequel to Returnal,
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I can see, them doing like a big open world thing now that Elden Ring's had such a hit. Like, what's to stop a Returnal going like semi-open world? I don't know how that works, but
oh my goodness, that's mind-bending to think about.
Oh, dude, we're in for some. I think we're only just hitting the tip of the iceberg when it comes to games on PlayStation 5 and what it can actually do, and even Xbox Series X. I think we're only just scratching the surface.
Yeah, definitely, man. Good things ahead for sure. All right, next up, IGN tell us Elden Ring is the UK's biggest non-FIFA or COD release since 2018. That's right, Elden Ring, Game of the Year, kicking goals.
early to call it, but it's a fair call.
Oh, can you see anything knocking it off, Steve? Honestly,
I really can't. Unless God of War or Breath of the Wild 2 launch this year, I can't see many games competing with Elden Ring for Game of the Year this year.
No,
and hard to say considering it came out in February.
I'm confident. It's a good feeling game. It's going to be hard to beat.
It is.
This is great though. I love it.
But the fact that it's already outselling games like Call of Duty and FIFA, like that's insane. Like those games have such broad reach, and they're going to your casual players and your not so casual players as well. Everyone buys those games and plays those games yearly. So to think that Elden Ring, a game that is made by From Software, who are notorious for having games that are too hard for most people to play, or that most people will put up playing, and as good as it is, a lot of people will jump into it and go, I can see how good it is, but I just can't play it because I'm not willing to put the time into quote, get good, as they say. But the fact that it's doing these, I don't know what it is that's making it do these numbers. Is it because we've got an open world? Is it the
Well, my question to you, Steve, these are the numbers out of the UK and it's not in the US. Do you think there'd be a difference in the marketing strategy if they marketed it towards one audience in the UK and a different audience in the US? And now that they've found the winning formula in the US, now they'll replicate that marketing strategy in the US, and then we'll see the sales story replicated in the US. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it's a real tough one to say. Like, is it the name? Is it the fact that people that have seen it, like the marketing and stuff, are they marketing as a George R. Martin piece, and people like to you're bringing in those Lord of the Rings nerds and stuff as well into the game, and like I don't know how widespread it is that this game is more accessible than the other FromSoft games, but like even just speaking for myself, the fact that you can play this game and like you're not. You don't really have those bottlenecks where, like, say, as much as I love Bloodborne, and Bloodborne's like my favorite FromSoft game, probably up until Elden Ring, is that you get to these bits where you're like, if you don't beat the boss, you are stuck in that game essentially until you beat that boss. You can go back and grind those areas that before that boss, and that can be fun. But in Elden Ring, you can literally go to any one of these. Oh my god, hundreds of biomes now. It seems the fact that we've got an underground area which we've just discovered, which is just as massive. You can go to any of these areas. You see different sights, different sounds, defeat ridiculous amounts of enemies, and you can do that whenever you like. You've got the fast travel that takes you here, there, and everywhere whenever you want to go. Provided you're not in a battle, you can go anywhere in that game. Like just the freedom of it. To play it, I don't know how well that's marketed, but it seems to be doing well. And I don't know whether the word's out there that this game is more accessible in that way. But like it's obviously doing well for sales.
I wonder if Breath of the Wild, is that what it's called, or is that the first one?
Yeah.
Horizon 2, I'm trying to say. I wonder if Horizon 2's sales figures are inverted for the UK and US. Like, did Horizon sell really well in the US, but Elden Ring do well in the UK and, flip it?
Yeah, I could see obviously Horizon did do really good numbers, and it will continue to do good numbers. But it's just so funny. I mean, we said it last week that literally Elden Ring is the Breath of the Wild to Horizon. This year, like it's the same thing has happened with like a more sort of engrossing open world, less hand-holdy experience has taken over the fact that how good Horizon actually is, and.
It's so unfortunate.
And I'll go back to it, and I sung its praises, and we'll go back to it and finish it. Like I just can't see myself putting more hours into that while I've still got Elden Ring going.
Definitely. Got to get through that Elden Ring first. It's and I can't even see the end of Elden Ring. Gosh, it's so big. I just don't even know when I'm going to be done with it. It's such a good game. All right, third story this week is from Kotaku. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet announced. Here are the new starters.
So this happened.
A cat, a dinosaur, and a duck?
Yeah, I really like the duck. He looks jacked. He looks like he's been hitting chest day, I reckon. He's doing all right there. So I don't know. I reckon he'd be my starter if I'd play this, but I'm still going in Arceus. So like the fact they've just released an open world Pokemon this year, and it looks like they're going to release another one later this year. Those guys at Nintendo they're pumping them out.
That's what. And Steve, obviously you are the resident Pokemon expert. Can you tell me, are these direct sequels to each other? How do the two titles that they release each other relate to each other, if at all?
As in the Scarlet and Violet, or Scarlet, Violet, and Arceus?
Well, the Arceus that came out a couple of weeks ago or whatever, does this game tie to that one at all, or are they completely separate?
I don't believe so. I think because Arceus is set before all the Pokemon stuff, because you get sent back in the future and you're sort of creating your first Pokedex there. This is, I think, carrying on from like the more recent Pokemons where you're back in present day and stuff, and you got the more sort of, it's got the art style, I think, of like your Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and stuff, which is, I really like that art style. I think it lends itself really nicely to the Switch as well. But it is sort of leaning more into that open world and sort of Similar to Arceus as well, where it's got your seamless blend between the open world and the hub areas as well. So I think they're finding a nice little blend, and I think this is going to be another one that sells huge for Nintendo. I think it's dropping sort of just before Christmas, so I imagine this is going to do very, very well for them.
Yeah, that's amazing. That they can sell two of the same game in the year to me is crazy. Like, imagine telling two Assassin's Creed or Call of Duties in a year. Like, you couldn't do it. Pokemon must be the only franchise that can, I reckon.
Well, I think that's probably a good thing. When they outsourced, I think Arceus went to a different developer, so that's probably how they've managed to do it. So the fact that it has done so well is been really good for Nintendo, because it's a bit of risk to take, I imagine. Outsourcing one of your number one franchises to a different company to make the game, and it's done well. And now they've got the main line Pokemon games coming back, and they're probably going to do just as well, if not better, than than Arceus.
And they didn't Grove Street game it. There's no crazy porting. There's no crazy bugs in it.
Oh, well, who knows? There probably is.
All right, next up, new Infamous and Sly Cooper games in development, according to a leaker. Tell us things, Steve. Where was this leaked?
Well, that's a good question. I just know it was leaked, and the fact that it is, apparently it did come from a reasonably credible source, and this bloke who has leaked stuff in the past has got a pretty good track record, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that we could be seeing these games. It's just who is making them, because the developers of both games are working on other things. So I don't know who's making it, but I mean, I really like the Infamous games. I was never a massive Sly Cooper fan. I've dabbled in Sly Cooper, and I can see the stealth mechanics are quite fun, and they've been used in games since then. But I really did enjoy Infamous, and especially, was it Infamous Second Son was the most recent one?
Yeah, that was what was that, full launch?
PS4, yeah, that's right.
Wow, that was some time back, wasn't it? And now, is this it's Insomniac Games, I want to say. Am I wrong?
Yeah, Insomniac was Infamous, because they're doing Spider-Man now, so they've got an actual superhero, not a fake one they've made up. But I don't know. I reckon there is room for a superhero game that's not based off one of your Marvel things. I know there's probably more money to make in making like a Marvel or DC based superhero game, because your general nerds and geeks out there, and even just your casual gamers out there, know of these superheroes, whereas something like Infamous might be a bit more of a hard pull, and it's a lot of people that play the old games know them, but how much of a new generation of gamers know what Infamous is?
Yeah, well, you're right. Well, what did we say? It was launch year, and what was that? 2012? When did the PS4 launch? My point is, it's been about 10 years since there's been a new Infamous game. Oh, what was the neon one with the girl? Second Light, the DLC. That was probably the most recent thing. Was that standalone? I don't recall now.
It was standalone, yeah. So I think it was at PS4 as well, and they did the up-res stuff for PS5 as well, for both Infamous and Second Light as well. And those games are really good. Like, the powers are cool, the stories are really good, the graphics are amazing. Like, I would love to see a PS5 only version of Infamous.
But
as I said, the problem they've got is it's in a world now where Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales exists, which makes it a very hard sell. Especially back in the day when Infamous first came out, you didn't have those games of that caliber, and it was the best superhero game you could play. Whereas now, you've got Spider-Man 2 just around the corner as well. So where does it land?
What about this for an option, Steve? Is it possible they're both going to be VR titles? Would you want to play Infamous or Sly Cooper in VR first person?
Oh, I can't say that I would.
I don't know, man. If you're in the VR headset and you're doing those lightning powers, it'd be pretty cool, I reckon.
It'd be kind of cool, but I still, even though I don't know where it would fit in sort of Sony's playbook and library, I would still much prefer to see another third-person action game from the Infamous saga. Just again, I don't know who would be making it, because we all know Insomniac's working on Wolverine and Spider-Man 2. So
exactly, man. This is what I'm trying to think. It's like, who could pick it up, and what would they be doing with it? And it's, if they're still hoping to get the PSVR 2 out, Christmas this year, they're going to need some titles for it. Who did they pick up? They picked up someone recently. I'm blanking on the studio's name. Who did they buy recently who had VR experience in their development?
Oh, you're pushing it.
Anyway, I reckon those people are the ones working on these titles, and I reckon they're going to be just a small little VR experience. Somewhat like what was the Batman VR, that small little Batman experience for the first one.
That was actually really good.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Could you see an Infamous version of that and a Sly Cooper version of that for the PSVR 2 as launch title, Steve?
Again, I could, but again, you got that whole like, yep, most people are going to play something that's got the Batman name to it. Whereas if you've got a VR thing that's like Infamous and Sly Cooper, most people, our generation knows it, but the next generation of gamers, are they going to play it? That's my question.
Well, this is my point, Steve, because these Infamous and Sly Cooper are a bit dated and maybe they don't have that resonance with the audience. Putting them in VR might be the best call because you get the people that buy the hardware and want to play whatever the new game is on it. Those launch titles for VR always sell well. If they've got two first-party IPs they can reintroduce to the audience, maybe then we can get, in 5 years after that, get the big next Sly Cooper proper sequel, but use a little reintroducing title maybe in VR. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I could see that. I could see, especially PSVR 2, which I'm saying is still going to come out this year. I know you're looking forward with that.
But if it is coming out, Steve, what games are they putting out this year? What games do you know of in development? This is my point. We don't know what they're working on. They must be working on something.
Yeah, so I suppose you've got Horizon, Infamous, and Sly Cooper, and they're your only three titles in the VR too. Then that's what they're going to be playing. So
yeah, exactly that, and hopefully, fingers crossed, Half-Life Alyx makes it over.
Oh, mate, yeah, I hope so.
All right, next up from GameSpot, new GTA 5 and GTA Online for PS5 and Xbox Series XS, graphics mode details and screenshots revealed. Steve, they keep teasing us for the 15th. It's, just over a week away, mate?
Yeah, what's that, next Tuesday?
Probably. Yeah, that checks out, yes.
It is. So this has been a long time coming. Like, obviously, we were supposed to get this last year, and we got the trilogy instead. And
yep.
Like, it's going to be the only thing that might suck me into maybe playing a bit of GTA Online, because it's always appealed to me, some of the stuff you can do in it with the new onboarding stuff they've got with careers and stuff. I think could be really fun. I could just never get into it because it runs at subpar 30 frames per second.
Yes, and it is a brutal
resolution that's probably 1080p at best.
Yes, yeah. Does the new one have 120 hertz, mate? Have you looked?
It doesn't look like 120. It's going to have, I think, a native 4K at 30, upscaled 4K, 60 frames per second. I think it's even going to have similar to Spider-Man, it's going to have a ray tracing 60 frame per second mode, 60 frames mode as well.
Yeah, nice.
So there's a few things there, but I'll just be playing this thing most likely with the highest frame rate I can get. Because let's face it, frame rate's king.
Frame rate is king. Hey, Steve, speaking about frame rate being king, do you think there is any need for them to offer the high, prioritized resolution or whatever they call it, the performance mode? Like, can't everybody just agree nobody likes it? Stop doing it. Just give us the highest amount of frames you can and move on. I don't understand.
Agreed.
Like, we don't really need to emulate PCs that much, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. Like, Horizon is probably the number one game recently that's done that, which is with the 30 frames 4K mode. And it looks pretty if you're standing still, but as soon as you start moving, you've lost those frames, and it's almost borderline for me unplayable at the moment in anything under 60. So I don't know why games persist with it.
Either do I, mate. I'd love to see the analytics out there. I'd love for a big developer to come out and say, these are the stats of, Uncharted 4. This is how many people played it in performance mode. This is how many people played it in resolution mode. I'd love to see those numbers.
Oh, and I don't know whether they just leave it in there for photo mode, because if you leave your game in those modes, then you get a better picture for your photo mode. And that's the only thing I can think of, because a lot of games do have the photo mode. So,
well, why don't they have it when you turn photo mode on? That's when they enable it, and when you go out of photo mode,
you
go back
to the exact same thing. I don't know why I need to have to go into a settings to change the resolution to get a better photo. I'm like, it should be pretty easy that it just defaults to that better picture.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, final story for the week. GTA Trilogy gets its first patch in almost 3 months. Whoa, is there patch notes, Steve? What can you tell us?
There are patch notes there, and I realised this when I turned it on the other day to sort of have a quick go at it, because I was just like, I was having a bit of a GTA itch, and I was like, I'll give it a go. And there was, I think, a 7 gig update to Vice City and possibly a 12 gig update to San Andreas. And I'd kept jumping back into GTA Vice City because it's probably one of my favourites, and sort of it has that nostalgia hit. And you get to the intersections with like 3 or 4 cars, and the frame rate would still drop. And I was like, this is unacceptable for a game that looks like this to be dropping frames. But it appears, after playing some this afternoon, that all those frame rate issues across San Andreas, GTA 3, and Vice City have been alleviated. They are gone. So the game now looks better, runs better, and it is hopefully the definitive edition of GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas that we were promised back in November last year.
My big question, mate, for San Andreas, I'm trying to scroll down to the patch notes here and find it. I'm stuck at my save file. Is that I'm blanking on the name now, but you need to go in to. It's not Dr. Dre. I can't remember what they call him, but the Dr. Dre substitute. You've got to go into his recording studio, like break into his house.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a trophy if you do that entire mission stealth, and I swear it's broken. That's where my save game's at. There's a guy who's clipping through a wall and being triggered by me. There's no way he's seeing me, so I've been waiting for a patch note that says to fix the stealth in that mission before I can continue.
Oh, it might be there somewhere. There's a lot of patch notes in there if you want to go for a read, everyone. But
that is a big long list, isn't it?
The main one for me was improved game performance across all platforms and graphics modes, stability improvements. So they were the main things for me. So, and it seems those are fixed. I literally did a stress test on it earlier today, and I can tell you that those things are fixed. So very happy to see. And, you know, those people that were griping when they got the game back. I think it was early December, wasn't it? First week of December, the trilogy launched.
Yeah, that's right.
And even we, as much as we enjoyed our time with it and the nostalgia hit it got, we were, you know, quite scathing of its rain effects and glitches and performance we were having on games that were, you know, decades old at this point that should run perfectly on a brand new Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5.
They most certainly should. But good that they're patched. I'll have to check it out this week. Do you think you'll be checking it out, Steve, or are you going to wait until after Elden Ring?
I might have I reckon I'll get to the point in Elden Ring where I am sitting at level 105 and that now. So I've, as much as I want to keep playing, I will sort of dabble in some other stuff as well here and there now if I've got some time. So GTA might get the gig, but just getting ready for that GTA 5 upgrade, which is happening next week.
Next week, 1 week, not long to wait now. So finally, we will wrap it up, the news segment, with, of course, Game Informer's upcoming list of titles for being released this week. First one, RPG time, The Legend of Wright. Xbox XS, One, PC, iOS, Android. I know nothing. Steve?
No, I know very little. You can just move through most of this list. I'm just happy that pretty much there's nothing this week that's worth playing because there's plenty of other things we've got previous weeks that have plenty of playing to be done. So you can go through this list pretty quickly this week.
Very good, mate. I will burn through it then. Ashwalkers coming to Switch on the 10th. Aztec, Forgotten Gods, coming to everything on March 10. Chocobo G.E.A. No idea. I assume it's Chocobo. Isn't that Final Fantasy now?
Final Fantasy. It is Final Fantasy Mounts, yep.
It's coming to Switch. Submerge, Hidden Depths, coming everywhere. That's one not for me. I hate games with water elements. Fear of drowning, easily induced. Workshop Simulator, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, March 10. Young Souls, last gen. And then finally, I assume this would be the biggest seller of the week. It's the only one I expect would sell well. WWE 2K22. Coming to everything. But now that I've said that, Steve, was last year's WWE one the absolute train wreck now that I've said that?
It was. I reckon they've had a few train wrecks now, so especially last year, but I don't think it's been doing too well just in general. So, I mean, for me, wrestling games, my favourite wrestling games of all time are back to the Nintendo 64, where NWO versus whatever it was, WCW versus NWO, Revenge and all those kind of games. Those are the best wrestling games that ever came out, and there's nothing that sort of hit that height for me in wrestling games since then. So I hope 2K22 does well.
Let's hope so. Who knows? I hope it's not a buggy mess as last year's was. But if you're thinking of picking it up, maybe just wait for those day one reviews and probably a day one patch to see where it's really landing. What I'm saying is I wouldn't pre-order it.
Definitely not.
All right, so that must bring us, Steve. Surely this is now standoff, is it not?
We're into the standoff.
Oh, it's the standoff, everyone. I've got a button somewhere for the standoff. Bear with me. Standoff.
Who will fight?
Who will fight? Steve, who will fight this week, my friend?
Who will fight this week? We've got a few on the list. We've got 6 today that are all our Souls-like games not made by FromSoft. We're going to pick our favourite or best one of the bunch. First up is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
I absolutely love this game, and it was recently added to Game Pass as well. Well, I say recently, it might have been November last year, but if you've got Game Pass, you can certainly play it there if you hadn't. Fantastic game. I loved it. Steve, I know you finished it and you're a fan as well, mate.
Yeah, absolutely great. I reckon I've played this through twice. Probably one of the best Star Wars games you can play. And yeah, it doesn't really go out of its way to say this is a Souls-like game, but it very much is. It's got a very similar control scheme. After I changed my combat style from X and Y, whatever it was, to R1 and R2.
Yes. Yep.
But it's got a very similar mechanic. So if you looked at all these FromSoft games and go, I can't get into them, maybe start with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, because it is an absolute amazing game, amazing story.
Yes.
The gameplay is awesome. You do have difficulty levels, so you can sort of onboard yourself, and if you feel like you're getting better at the game, you can chuck it on hard. And, even this game on hard, it's going to kick your ass like a Souls game.
Yes.
So, no, definitely, like, easily one of the best on this list.
Yes, and one of the better stories in one of these type of games too. Very good story, well told.
Absolutely. Yeah. FromSoft games, they do sort of hide that story behind, a lot of exposition and, and items and stuff. The Jedi Fallen Order definitely has a much more solid, sort of grounded story that you can follow.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next up we have The Surge 2, Steve.
The Surge 2, I enjoyed the Surge 1, but I think the Surge 2 took it to another level with their art direction and level design, and it's got real cool mechanic where to get weapons and different stuff for your actual for your armor, your legs, arms, whatever, you actually have to cut that off your enemies you're defeating as well. And if you want to upgrade that part, you've got to cut it off more than one time. So it's this real cool battle where you've got to target certain parts of the body, and you don't want to wreck those parts because you want to use them on your body. So really cool fight mechanics, something a little bit different to FromSoft, where you're sort of just, fighting the enemy. This one you're fighting the enemy, but you're also going to be aware of where you're hitting and stuff, because that's where your gear's coming from. So very, very hard game. It's got bosses, which I eventually got stuck on one and couldn't quite get past it. And like there's as much as I could grind, I still couldn't get past this level, but very much like the game itself and the setting, the story it's telling. It's not quite as in-your-face storytelling as Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, but it does tell a sort of more solid story than, say, your Dark Souls and stuff, on first glance. So
yeah, right. And sorry, mate, just on the hitting specific components on your enemy, that reminded me a bit. Maybe is it similar to Horizon? How you're picking off specific components, maybe.
Oh, yeah, it's very similar. So you got to target those bits and knock them off the character, and once you do knock them off, you get them. So very similar to Horizon. Obviously, Horizon a little bit easier to do so than the Surge 2, just speaking from experience. But no, I really enjoyed that. And I think it did pretty well. So I think you may get a Surge 3, and maybe they hit their straps, and it does the Elden Ring where a whole bunch more people are playing it. But I think the Surge 2, as you said, I think it's Game Pass and definitely worth a play.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I've just had a memory. Steve, have you noticed for me, I've noticed the way less frame drops this week in Elden Ring. I suspect the servers are rock steady now. And as a result, my gameplay experience has not dropped in frame rate the way it was maybe the first day or two. Had you noticed something similar on your side?
Yeah. Definitely noticed that. And sort of the more starting areas and stuff. Some of the areas I've gone to recently have a bit more heavily involved when it comes to what's actually going on screen. And I've had a few drops here and there, but yeah, definitely much more stable than
yes, I wanted to make sure we mentioned that. It's gotten better. All right, then the third item on this week's standoff is Lords of the Fallen. Now, is this a PlayStation Plus or Games of Gold? I know someone gave it to us free late last year.
Yeah, they did, and I believe not recently, but it did get a frames bump as well. So it does run at 60 frames.
Nice.
I think it's the Series X now as well, which makes it much easier to play. And this had, again, really good art style. Sticks very closely to the Souls formula as well in terms of the way your bonfires are set out, the enemies, your bosses and stuff. And I remember fighting a boss for this, I think it was the first boss, multiple times. I just couldn't beat it, and then put the game down and came back to it with more of a Souls mod. I think it might have even come back to it after I'd finished Bloodborne. And then and for whatever reason, that first boss, I reckon I beat him second go. And I don't know whether it's because my skills got better or I'd managed to level up my character, but for whatever reason it was, I managed to beat him and then carry much further into the game. And again, didn't finish it, but really did enjoy the art style. I think it's got really gorgeous graphics. I can't remember the developer.
Deck 13 Interactive, yes.
So do we know what else they've done since Lords of the
I
Fallen?
can probably click on this wiki link and find out. Where is it? Games
I'm very
published.
interested to know because Lords of the Fallen was quite a while ago.
Where
now.
are we? Lords of the Fallen. Am I not even seeing it on this list? How could that be? It's there. What?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. So Lords of the Fallen 2014, it was above the fold. Lords of the Fallen 2014, then they did The Surge and The Surge 2, Steve. The Surge 2 was their last.
Ah, there you go. I had a feeling. I was like, I reckon they've done something else that was like that.
Funny.
But yeah, that's right. So they definitely honed their gameplay and stuff by the time they got to the Surge and Surge 2 because it's much more accessible and a more fun game. I just think Lords of the Fallen had a really good art style, but it did probably lean way too heavily on that Dark Souls kind of, era. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's like Dark Souls, just not as good.
Yep. That was my experience, certainly, with Mortal Shell. Game number 4, it came to Xbox Game Pass earlier this year. We installed it on the channel. I played it for about an hour and I was done with it there.
Yep, I was about the same. I had heard good things about this game, that it is a very good sort of Dark Souls-ish game, and I jumped in. It just didn't have the hook. The combat wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't polished.
Fun.
Yeah, it wasn't polished. It was not from soft polish.
They had a cool mechanic, I think, at the heart of it with the whole hardening of your guy at the moment to attack, but I don't think it was really well explained how to use it, and it was kind of cumbersome as well. I think maybe if you sort of delved into that game and you didn't have other things to play, it was the only thing you were playing, then you might sort of, latch on to those mechanics and really enjoy it. But for me, who's played a lot more, Dark Souls, 1, 2, 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro, before I played this game, it was just a little bit too slow. It was the levels I think are a bit confusing. I think FromSoft's got this really nice chemistry when it comes to levels that like things fall back on themselves and you get those real aha moments where you're like, oh my god, I've just was here but now I'm here, but this is the same spot it was before. Like it's really cool, whereas this kind of just was confusing and labyrinth-like, and you had no idea where you were and you didn't get that satisfaction of being like, oh, this is where I am. It was just, oh, I'm just confused and now I'm dead.
That was certainly my experience with it, mate. Yes. Perfect. All right. Number 5 now. Neo 2.
So Neo and Neo 2 are probably my second favourite games when it comes to these types of games, in terms of they've got this similar kind of level grind that you can do. They do. I actually think Neo 2 is harder than any Dark Souls game I've played. A, because I can't finish it, and B, I just get to these areas where I'm just like, this skill level that is required here is just far beyond what my fingers can control.
Well, I'm sure it's no surprise to you, Steve, that I thoroughly enjoyed these games, but no, I could never get far into them. Sort of the first 5 hours, I think, I couldn't get beyond there. It was just constant death for me. You're right. Skill requirement way above me.
It's up there. But the thing is, the mechanics and like combat is actually really fun and are fun in Neo too. Like the samurai combat, the bow combat is actually almost think I prefer the bow combat in this than I do something like even like Elden Ring. I think the bow stuff's done much better in Neo.
I don't think I've fired a bow yet. I've used a crossbow in Elden Ring, but I'm yet to use a bow. Sorry, keep going.
No, that's right. It's just I think they do those mechanics slightly better, and I remember using a bow more in Neo and enjoying it. Whereas for Elden Ring, I will only use it as a last thing to try and lure an enemy close to me. I won't actually try and kill them with the bow. That's about all it's good for. It's like throwing a rock at someone. Essentially for me.
But no, I don't think you checked them out due to space restrictions. But Steve, when Neo 2 did get re-released for the PS5, mate, that PS5 native version looks phenomenal. Highly encourage you to check it out at some point if you've got the hard drive space.
I would like it. It would be nice to play it on a next-gen console running at smooth frame rates. But again, need that hard drive space. And, if we're going to play a game like Neo at the moment, you know what I'm going to say.
Not going past Elden Ring, mate. I hear you. All right, the final one in the list, Remnant from the Ashes.
Now, this is pretty much Dark Souls with guns. That's the best way to put it. And I think it does it really well. It is probably up there as one of my favourite Souls-like type games when it comes to the mechanics used in Souls, but sort of repurposed for a different kind of game. And I played a lot of this game, and it did recently receive a frames per second bump on the Series X. I know that.
I'm just looking at the front cover. Was this one a free one as well at some point? Like, was it a PSN, monthly plus, whatever? The cover is eerily familiar.
It is very familiar.
Sorry,
reckon it might
I
have been.
totally distracted you, mate. I apologise.
No, that's all right. That's all right. No, so I don't know if you've played much of this game at all.
No,
but
I
it
haven't
has,
played any of it.
very,
Not a frame.
Yeah, it's funny because it actually starts out, from what I remember, the tutorial you start with like a melee weapon, and it's like it feels like it's doing like an homage to like FromSoft games about melee, but it all becomes about guns and stuff after that. And the mechanics of the shooting and stuff's really good. It's got really good third-person shooter mechanics.
Nice.
It's got co-op and stuff, which I think is meant to be the way you're supposed to play a lot of this game. I think you can play it, unlike Elden Ring and Dark Souls, where they make it a little bit cumbersome
Yeah.
to play co-op. This game is meant to be played co-op because a lot of stuff that I was doing that I just wish I had a second player, and I know you can do it, and it would be so much fun to play with someone else. I just played a lot of it solo and came to eventually a bottleneck in the game where I just could not do it by myself because I just kept dying, and I was just like, there's other things to play. I should stop wasting my time on Remnant for now. So, but if we ever get time back, and it's free to get on Game Pass, I mean, jump into it.
Yeah,
We'll have a
definitely.
crack.
All right, buddy, I'll quickly run down the list. I've got the clear nominee in my mind, mate, but let's hear what you're thinking after we go back down the list. First up, Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order, The Surge 2, then Lords of the Fallen, followed by Mortal Shell, then Neo 2, and finally, Remnant from the Ashes. Steve, which one's taking it for you this evening?
When it comes to Souls-like games, but I'm more leaning towards, I'm probably going to go pick with exactly what you're going to pick. I'm leaning towards Star Wars.
You are leaning in the same direction as me, mate. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It would be my recommendation for anybody who's heard us banging on about Elden Ring and still not sure. I say go play Jedi Star Wars Fallen Order 2. Fallen Order 1. If you like that, then check out Elden Ring.
Absolutely. No, it's just it does the best sort of version of this game without being too hard. And I think if you are looking at getting into these games, this is the best onboarding game you could probably get.
Yes.
And it's Star Wars choice. You can't go past swinging lightsabers around it, stormtroopers, and cut them in half.
Yeah, that's right. And I seem to remember the end boss fight was something quite special, where it takes place and everything. I don't want to give any spoilers, but it's a very enjoyable game. Highly recommend it. From memory,
very, very enjoyable.
Was it around the 25-hour mark, Steve? I want to say somewhere there.
Yeah, it was a decent length game. Like that was another thing. It's not like one of these short action games. It actually has length to it, so it's kind of got that RPG feel to it. You are unlocking skills and stuff.
Yeah.
Or be a character as well. I'm trying to think of his name. It's escaping me right now.
I'm sure it's written here somewhere. And did they, Cal? There it is, Cal. Do we know? I'm pretty sure they've confirmed that number 2 is in development. Yeah, we know that for a fact.
Yeah, there is a sequel coming for this game. I imagine we will probably see something E3 at this time. And that is the rumors. I don't think we'll see anything before then, but quality game. And I just want to say as well, if you are looking for a game as well, I mean, you also can't, if you don't want to go Star Wars, then I think I'd put a close second to like the Surge or Surge 2 as well. I think that both of those are quality games in that ilk as well. But for us at Geek Aloud, we're going to go Jedi Fallen Order.
Jedi Fallen Order wins.
Who will fight?
I've hit the wrong button. That's what I'm looking for. All right, Steve, that brings us through to the final segment, door 4. Let's kick down those YouTube chat comments, mate. What are people saying?
Mate, we've got a few in there. We've got Sean Games, as always.
Hey, Sean, how you doing, buddy?
Looks like he's having his ass kicked by the main first boss in Elden Ring. Mate, we've all been there. You'll get it done, don't
we
you?
have, and he just picked the game up today. So good work, Sean, getting to the first boss on day 1, mate. That's a fair effort.
Good work. And we've got my mate Bully81 in the chat. He reckons Blue Point Games to develop both games. I'm thinking he's choosing, is that Infamous and Sly, possible remaster?
Oh, yeah.
From Blue Point. That's actually not a bad
That's a good call. I hadn't considered that.
We don't know what Blue Point's working on, so what if they're doing Infamous 1
I'd even just take Infamous 1 remastered off them. Yeah. Well, I would love to see a Blue Point remaster of Infamous. Oh, that's the best idea we've had. I reckon that's the one we back.
Well done, Bully81. You got us.
Nice work.
He says the best Soulsborne not by FromSoft for his choice is The Surge. There you go. I wasn't too far off you, mate. We were I was putting it a close second behind Star Wars. So there you go. And I think that's it for Chatland tonight, Troy.
Very good. And I can say there's no question this week from Discord either. So there's nothing happening on that front. That will do it for this episode of the Gaming Enforcement Agency. Thank you very much for checking it out. Oh, I'll encourage everyone, please check out the Call of Duty campaign review video we did. It's all 9 individual mission reviews cut together into one review that's there for your viewing pleasure. I think it came up quite well. Hopefully you were happy with it, Steve.
Mate, very, very happy. And I'm also happy that G.E.A. is now old enough to drink in America.
Woohoo! That's a great point. This has been episode 21 of the Gaming Enforcement Agency. I'll be back on both Wednesday and Friday mornings, 10 a.m. right here for a live Let's Play. Maybe not Unky Dunky, virtually, possibly. Fingers crossed. And then, of course, next Monday we'll be back for episode 22 of the Gaming Enforcement Agency. Troy, off duty.
Steve, off duty.
Thanks very much, guys. Geek Aloud. Like it, subscribe it.
Oh, that was luck. Hey, that's something.
I love everything about it. Ooh.
Fire splash!
Old Uncle Donkey.
Donkey.